All right, big man. Today is Wednesday. It's January 27th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Eddie here. Today I'm joined by Elio. Elio, so I'll let you introduce this. How would you describe, who would you describe you are inside the Barstool universe?
Oh, wow. That's tough to say. I started with Dave back, 14 years ago. I was sort of his helper whenever he needed different things. So now I'm in the horse field with him. So I don't know how to describe myself in terms of how I am in Barstool. But you know what? I love the company. Dave has built it from the scratch, and it's really impressive on what he did and how he did it. And I'm just glad to be a small part of it.
But it's safe to say, obviously, and I put this on the graphic so you confirm it or deny it, whatever. I put it, you're Dave's best friend, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, sometimes when everybody starts to work, as you get older, your friends sort of decrease. So, yeah, Dave and I are probably best friends.
Okay, yeah, because
he paid me to say that.
There you go. And I'm excited to have this conversation because if people who really go deep, like they know that you've been there forever, it's kind of funny just coming into last weekend. Right now, for the record, it's midnight. We're in Detroit. We've been gambling our faces off for 3 days straight.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a fun weekend. So we're trying to kind of get the train on the tracks here. But it's funny because it came at a time where someone else who works in the Barstool universe was like, "Who is this guy?" Did you see that on Twitter?
Dave told me about it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I didn't see it. Maybe he just wasn't paying attention early on.
So that's kind of what I want to kind of, color in the lines here. Just kind of talk about that, talk about your relationship with Dave, who you are, and just get right into it. So how did you meet Dave?
So I met Dave. We had a blind date. One of my good friends from Richmond, Todd McShay, he always said when we were in college early on that he had a best friend. He had a good friend from Swampscott, where we both grew up in Massachusetts. I was in Westwood. He was in Swampscott. And Todd used to tell me that he had a friend that was sort of like me, and he didn't necessarily want him to introduce us because we both had some bad habits like gambling and stuff like that. So I think it was the end of college. Todd was like, "Listen, I'm gonna set you guys up." So basically, Todd gave me his number, and I called him up, and we met at a bar in Boston, just me and him. So it was like a blind date.
Wait, so what's just because he thought you had similar interests? Like, I literally, when you said blind date, I was like, there's two girls there too.
No, it was just me and him. We went on a Saturday right across from the Boston Garden, or the Fleet Center now. It was a bar, and it was like a noon on a Saturday, and we bet the whole board that whole day from like noon to 11 o'clock at night. And then from then on, we basically haven't stopped talking.
Wait, and McShay wasn't there?
No, it was a blind date. Yeah, it was just us two.
That's kind of weird.
I know, it is weird, but it was pretty. Yeah.
Like, were you guys just like, "Hey, dude, like this guy's looking for friends"?
You know what? I had talked to him on the phone. A few times. So we were talking sports and gambling. Yeah. We basically had to check each other out to see if we were both really into gambling. And that's what we did on that day.
I kind of get it though. If you're really looking for someone to really get, elbow deep into the board on you on a noon,
yes.
Saturday slate,
yes,
I can understand.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's it.
I did not know that. So how old were you?
We were probably 21, 22.
Okay. All right. So 21, 22. For some reason, I thought it was reversed. I thought you guys were childhood and then McShay was college.
No, it's Todd and Dave grew up in Swampscott, which is probably 30 minutes from me. But no, those two were they grew up together.
Gotcha. Okay, and then how'd it go from there? Then was it like every weekend you guys are in the chamber picking lines?
Yeah. So I mean, when you're young like that, you're talking 3-4 times a day. What we're doing that weekend. We both weren't married. Going out. But our main focus was always on gambling. We always had that, because we pretty much did the same thing. So we had that niche together that, would call each other before the game started. And we used the same too. And was a crazy person. So it was a funny ride with him as well.
Yeah, that was. Listen, I should preface this when things were the Wild Wild West.
Back then.
Now it's a legalized. Bet responsibly, everybody. We're with Penn National now, so we don't do that anymore.
You're bigger and better.
Yeah,
now.
Exactly. So yeah, no. So that's interesting. So you're how old again? Sorry.
Do I have to really say it? 41?
No. How old were you at the time?
Oh, okay. We were about 21, 22.
Okay, so 21, 22.
Yes.
So you're in the trenches.
Yes.
You guys are kind of like, was that like goatee? Like, goatee Dave?
Yeah, goatee, and we didn't have any money, but we still gambled. Those were the days where you'd make a bet and you'd figure out how you're going to pay it because you had no money those days.
Yeah. So mid-90s.
Mid-90s,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Yes.
Okay, so that obviously, let's fast forward kind of the mid-2000s when, do you remember when, I should say, when he came up to you and was like, hey, Elio, I'm going to start Barstool Sports?
So what I knew was, yes, I do remember when he said he was going to start the Barstool. Back then, it was a newspaper. It was like a gambling little newspaper, basically. And he went to a job, I remember. First, he worked at a job and he made good money. Okay, I don't remember what he did, but he did pretty well. And then he quit that job. And I remember me and Todd talking about that. Like, he just quit a job that he was making like $150,000 as like a 23-year-old.
He was making that much?
He was making, I don't know exactly what it was, but he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And then I think what happened is he left that job and then he started another one and he quit that one as well. And then it was Barstool from that day on. He lasted his second job, I think, a week. And then he was just like, I'm going to focus on this Barstool newspaper type thing and gambling. That's what he wanted. He loved to do that. And that's, give him props for hanging in with it.
Yeah, so you thought it was crazy that he left the job. Did you think it was crazy that he was going into that venture?
No, because when he was, I'd say 6 months after he started Barstool, I thought he was going to make it. Because
you were sold instantly.
Oh, I thought because he had some core people right off the bat. It wasn't a big following, but he had like loyal, like I was telling you today, I feel like a sports team. He, like the Patriots. I love the Patriots. And I feel like his fans are like that. They're just like, we love the Patriots. They can't do anything wrong, Yeah. So that's how, even back then, he still had those core group of people that, loved him and loved Barstool.
That's interesting though, because that would, to hear that's the equivalent now. Maybe not. Maybe it's a little different because someone coming up to me like, hey, I'm starting a blog. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I think I'd be a little bit like, dude, you sure? Like, it's a big internet now.
I know.
And granted, not too many people were making newspapers, but at the same time,
right,
pretty crazy to be like, hey, I'm quitting all this shit.
Right.
I'm
and the beginning was just a newspaper, but that was even before it was online. It was just newspaper. And, I told him once he got the pretty girls on the front of the paper, I think he really took off then. I think that's once he started getting like this. In the beginning, it was more gambling. And I feel like that's a select group of people. Well, once he got the social aspect, like the girls on the front cover, I don't know if you saw. Yeah. So that's when I think it went mainstream. Like guys who didn't even want to gamble wanted to be a part of Barstool.
Okay, so it was the best thing he ever did in your eyes that he expanded it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then he went online too. Once he went away from the newspaper, he could obviously.
Yeah, he found me a 17-year-old in Chicago. I was like, what the fuck is
that's right.
I was like, what? Barstool's. Like, why should I care about Mayor Menino? But I was so locked in, and I know so much shit about the Boston. I know so many towns. It's not even funny just from it being online. So you're right. Obviously, throwing it in a blog form was so huge, but that goes without saying. And was it like an unhappiness in his old job? Did you feel like, or was it just like a desire to do something big, or what? What was it specifically, you think?
I mean, I think he focused on because he had been in the fields where he was not happy. I feel like he's like, all right, I'm going to try to do something that I love to do, and I'm going to, do it 100%. And if it works out, great. If not, at least I can say I tried.
Mm-hmm. So you thought it was crazy he was giving up a high salary job, but at the same time you're like, you know what? Like he seems like he has a lot of determination behind this.
Yeah,
Like, we'll see what
I
goes.
did, and like I said before, even though it wasn't monetary success right off the bat, I just felt like he had the fans right in the beginning. That if he grinded it out for he probably did for 10 years without making much. I felt like he could. I didn't know it was gonna be like this. But,
yeah. Okay, so that's interesting though, because you say that, but then we were walking up to the elevator a little bit ago, and you're like, I remember one of the first parties. And he was terrified because he only thought 5 people were going to show up.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We were at this big bar in Boston. I think it might have been The Place. And he was just so nervous. I just remember him being like, is anybody going to come? And he was talking to a few of the guys that interned, because I don't even know if he had real employees then. Besides the sales guy, that's it. I think he was the only one. And then, a couple hundred people came to the place, and it was, mostly guys. I'd say 80% guys, but you know what? They wanted to be a part of Barstool. And so, like I said, even early on, I felt it was going to make it.
Yeah. So it was going to make it, like you said, you don't know how big it would be, but you were pretty confident early on. That's saying something for sure.
Yeah.
That's huge. And did you ever kind of want to hop on the train? Did you ever have an opportunity to?
So, Dave was always said, if you want to be part of it, let's do it. I own a restaurant in Boston, so I always wanted to be a part of it, but the gambling part I enjoyed. So early on, there was really nothing for me because he was basically doing it himself. But then he got to like the social aspect, and that wasn't my thing. When he sort of went away with that, went to like, the social media aspect, that was just not me. That was But
even though your videos now are getting pretty electric.
Yeah, now with my kids. But now with the gambling back on track, that's a different story. Now that there might be more things I could do.
Interesting. So you're kind of like opening the door a little bit.
Yeah, we've talked. I mean, there's some things I'd love to do with him, and he wants me to do it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, cool. So, because that's another thing you brought up earlier about how we talked about sports talk radio, and you were kind of like, what, I'm not a huge fan of it. So you're just naturally not a guy who wants to sit there and like kind of argue about dumb shit, which is so much of Barstool.
That's right.
I just want to pick winners.
I know. I want to have it. Exactly. Yeah. I know. It comes with the territory, but that's sort of, you're right. Yeah.
No, yeah. And it's interesting too, because you're pretty laid back dude.
Yeah.
This is my first time meeting you.
Yes.
You're a pretty laid back dude. Obviously in your videos you seem like a maniac.
I know.
Which is not the case. And I'm in the world, I know what it's like to, pop on a video and sit there and bitch about the Bears versus like being like, all right, okay, my life's not that, it does affect my moods, but the sun's gonna come up tomorrow.
That's right.
So it's a cool flip, I guess I'll say. And so going on the line, when it gets bigger and bigger, like what was your first kind of oh shit moment? Because I remember being back at a stoolie and being like, wow, like they got Taffer to do a bar rescue video.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah,
I remember that. Like, that was sick. Dude, they got Pedroia in the hot tub in Arizona. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shit was huge. Like people don't realize that's definitely something that's got taken for granted when it comes to the Barstool world, about how cool it was when you got a guest to break through.
Yeah, definitely. A couple things that, obviously Chernin was obviously huge when that happened. And I think one of his best moves was, and he was so excited at the time, is when he hired Erica. I remember the things that he talked about with her. And for me, I was a little bit skeptical at first, saying a girl CEO, it's a totally predominant guy, but it's turned into where there's everybody here, which is so much better. And I think he nailed it with her. She's obviously done an unbelievable job, and she probably balances him off a lot, which is huge, and that's something he needs.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you bring up the Chernin purchase. Did he call you like right after?
Yeah. So I knew that it was going on, and for, I don't know, it must have been 3 months. You're just waiting to see if it really happens, because like the deal was in place, but they have to do a bunch of, check your banking, all that, all the stuff. And
ton of shit.
So when it finally went through, he was ecstatic. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. And that's when Barstool, started to just go nuts, in my opinion.
Yeah, and was there something similar with McShay? I don't know. You don't have to speak for him totally, but I don't know. Was he in the same boat, or did he kind of think it wasn't going to work? Did he have a moment where he's like, "Yo, Elio, you see, like, fucking Dave's really doing it."
Exactly. I mean, when Todd would always say that he thought, because he knew Dave from as a kid, and he said, listen, Dave put his mind to something. I don't always agree with Dave. They're two, they butt heads a lot.
Do they?
They do. They love each other. They're good friends, but one goes one way and one goes the other. But Todd always used to say, listen, he's going to make it. He knew he was going to make it just because the way he was sort of Dave's hard-headed. I mean, his stubbornness has probably helped him tenfold.
And in the same vein, McShay has fucking done a great job for himself too, in like the legit old school media circuit.
Yes.
So you had two friends that, same destination but different paths.
Yes. And if you were to tell me when I met them which one would go which way, which one, I would have thought Todd would have been in the more like the Barstool area, and Dave would have been. Well, actually,
Really?
I just thought they both would have been in that.
Oh yeah.
They're probably both that.
I didn't. I mean, I haven't. I didn't know McShay was kind of a dude.
Yeah, he's a wild man. He's good. Yeah.
No, that's good. I don't know. I'm sure that's a conversation. That's a question for Dave, but they haven't. Since that first bro show and the combine, obviously there hasn't been a ton of crossover. But
I always thought that I think Todd he signed a new contract at ESPN a year ago. I think it was a 6-year deal, but I thought he would have gone to Barstool, or Barstool I would have thought was an option. And I know Dave has always put it on the table. He wants.
Yeah. Do you think it'll ever happen?
I don't know. I mean. I thought I do think it will happen.
If that happens, you gotta figure something out, Elio. You can't just not have a seat at that table.
I think someday maybe Todd will come to the dark side.
There you go. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But if he comes, then there's not going to be, you need a seat at that table. So churning happens, and obviously this year, or 2020, I should say, the big thing was the Penn one where he, became a fucking multi.
Unbelievable. I always talk to him and say, just remember like 15 years ago what we were doing. Like I would have to meet him in a side street to give him $600 to either pay something or, and he'd do the same for me. It was vice versa. But I just remember the small things that would go on. And now $600 does even blink at 600,
Yeah. I mean, yes. No, he does not blink at 600.
Exactly.
We sat at the blackjack
I just
table
think about the times that, we would talk about, if we had this or that. And now he's got a lot of things now.
Definitely does. Man, so that Penn deal, what's it like being like such good friends with someone who's a millionaire?
So it's just recent that now I'd say in the last couple of years, the last year has been a crazy maybe before the Churning Group, he had a couple $1,000,000, but that's a whole different ball. Now he's in a different universe.
Yes. Different strategy.
So, I mean, Dave is a peculiar type of guy, so it's great for me because I go on some great trips, and, he keeps his circle very small. But I'm happy that, I'm part of it.
Yeah. And for people that don't know, this weekend is usually the weekend that you guys go every year to the Pegasus in Miami.
Yes. Yep.
So you should be in Miami instead.
We're in Detroit.
It's 12:15. We're in a conference room and we're talking about Dave in Detroit.
I know. But you know what? I had so much. I had a great time this weekend, and like I said, we go on 5 or 6 horse things every year, and now I say, Dave, listen, just put your credit card out. I'm not even going to pull my wallet out anymore because I don't. You're the man now. Yeah.
So. Is there any reason for the wallet at all?
Well, gambling, we're still pretty 50-50.
Really?
And look at me. He owes me $1,600. I gave him a blackjack.
Hey, I'm in on that too.
He owes you $600. So, listen, he's got $200 million. I'm down $1,600. So, no, it's he's very generous, and so
He is. No, yeah, and for I mean, Detroit's been great. Like it's a legit setup.
Yeah, this casino. You think Detroit, and you don't think like big casino, but this is a pretty good sized casino with nice amenities. Obviously, we're not seeing it all right now because of COVID, but you know, the street that it's on would be a really fun street to be on, you know, with the bar, all the bars right around here, but obviously everything's closed now. So I would imagine spring and summer, this place is probably hopping.
Yeah, when it's rocking, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
When it's going to be really awesome.
And another thing is weird. I think we talked about it. Bars, everybody, all the employees had the Barstool shirts, and like, and that just is weird to me because like you just think you go into like an MGM hotel and you see them in their, you know, whatever, the MGM little shirts. It's Barstool Casino. I can't even.
Seeing a 67-year-old dealer just sitting there with a stool on his arm, feeling, you know, Jack Queen too. You know,
it's funny.
It's very bizarre, very bizarre. So, what was your moment though? When you kind of saw he got kicked up into that upper echelon, like maybe you guys go on these trips, and lately they've been skyrocketing. I feel, you know.
So it's funny. We even talk about it too. So when we go on the horse trips, we've been put in tables like in the say 10, 12 years ago. We're put in tables way far off in the corner. We had this one end table. It wasn't as big as a square on a couch, and we were like all in the corner, and I'm 6'3", 290 plus tax. So, you know, it's like couldn't get out. Now we can sit at any table we want. We get usually a luxury box. But now he needs that because he can't really go anywhere without sort of being, especially in those venues where that's right up his alley. Like I always say, like sports events or like you know, those are the stoolies, you know, and you know, it's just tough. He's like I told you before, he is so generous to the stoolies, like when they come up to him, because that's his business. That's, you know, and he loves them. But it's just, you know, going from point A to point B is really hard now for him.
Dude. I couldn't believe walking through just a casino floor this weekend and seeing the people with the autographs. Like
yeah, autographs. That's new for me. Like it's been photos and, you know, all that stuff for get on my video or whatever. But now the autographs, wow.
Yeah, the autographs are crazy. Like there was Tom Brady, or there was Michigan and Patriots mini helmets he was signing. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's nuts.
It's crazy. And what was the one time you said you're not really you're not like a star fucker. You don't really care. Like, you know, it's sweet. You know, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Whatever. This guy who's, you know.
So we were at,
football player.
I think we were at Churchill Downs at either 2 Kentucky Derbies ago. And Tom Brady was there with his posse, Gronk and Edelman, and you know, that was the one time I was starstruck, and I was like, already, I'm like, I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to tell him who I am. And then somebody whisked Dave away into this little room, and I was like, I walked up to the bouncer, was like, hey, I'm like, come on, I'm with him. And Dave ended up talking to Tom. So that was the only one time. That's the only person that I would get a little bit of kick to hang out with.
And Brady is a very worthy one, obviously. Yeah. And it's a shame because if you guys watch the stream on Sunday, you were the loyal one to Tom Brady and Dave.
Yeah, I am disappointed in him, and you know, just because he's got this new hot best friend, what's his name? Aaron Rodgers. Give me a break. That was it. He couldn't. Aaron is a great quarterback, and nothing bad against him, but couldn't hold Brady's jock. I mean, it's not even and to diss Tom like that, Dave did. He should be ashamed.
It was tough to see.
You know what, the one thing about that I like coming to these events with him, you know, all you guys work for him. So obviously that's your boss. And I have a boss. Everybody has a boss. I love the fact that I can talk shit to him right there. And I just like the reactions out of you guys because you're like, oh shit, did he really say that to him? Yeah, I like the fact that I can still give him shit and that will never stop. So.
No, for sure. And that's what's good is because I think there's like a select few of people who could kind of bust his balls.
Yeah.
And he's cool with it.
Yes.
But you could there's always that situation where we could kind of bust his balls, but you never want to go too far. It's like there's no line.
Yeah, there is no.
And that's pretty fucking great because he is such a line with so many people.
And he says some outrageous shit too. So
yeah, and he always has the upper hand.
Yes.
he is constantly, if you get into a fucking argument with him, he's constantly arm wrestling, and he's already got you at like 90, 90, close to the wall already.
That's right. That's right.
He's got you in a fucking starting position. What do you think about all the hit pieces and shit that are like out to get him?
Yeah, I think Dave's biggest strength is that he's always told the truth. You might not like what he says, and a lot of these people, they just want to they probably just want some press, because if you mention his name, you're going to get a whole lot of it. But two, they take it out of context. He might have said something 15 years ago that's probably not kosher now, but he wouldn't do that now. And he's brutally honest sometimes, but I'd rather be that than being some guy full of crap all the time. He's had a couple of those girls, a Deadspin or something, that always used to give him crap. But they're out of business now. So
yeah, was there ever like a moment where you're like, man, I'm worried about him?
No, I mean, with the Brady thing, with the
Babygate.
the Babygate, he got into some trouble because when you deal with kids, it's a different animal. What he was saying was obviously a joke, and it was, it wouldn't offend me. I'm a father, and if someone,
and you follow the site, and you know what the joke was.
You know what the joke was
within the context.
Exactly.
It wasn't a dick joke.
No,
it was making fun of Peyton Manning.
That's right. Exactly.
In the context of a dick.
Yeah. So,
within a dick joke.
People don't want to do the work and figure out how he said it. They just say whatever he said, and then that's where they try to get him in trouble, basically.
Yeah, but that was the big one because
that was the big one because he got some kickback too. Like, he had to stop it just because it sort of was blown up to something that he didn't, he shouldn't even get into, because, again, I was on his side, but you sort of just let it die there.
Yeah, like that's one of those where is stubbornness like a big part of it?
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's probably one of the qualities that made him successful. But when you have a state trooper come to your house, you got to figure you got to stop it. So.
Yeah, because that was a big thing back in the day where he would not take shit down.
Yes,
blogs would not come down.
Yeah,
he just did not give a fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Those blogs were staying up, and that one came down.
Yeah, did.
That was...
Yeah, because the police came. And Dave's obviously pro-police. He's always said that. So I think he just knew it was time to take that one down.
Yeah, like this isn't a battle that's...
Right.
That's worth fighting anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's something. Do you ever... I mean, it's interesting because just as a fan and just being such a diehard Barstool guy in my life and seeing how he's kind of got, a raw deal on some of this shit. Like, being good friends with him for a while, like, that's kind of be tough. Be like, man, this dude's getting fucking...
I mean, Dave knows how to handle himself. So I'm,
never worried about him.
The only time I'm worried about him is if he says it to some kid tries to, sucker punch him. That's what I always thought would happen to him. I wouldn't, getting in trouble. He sort of knew where to draw the line. But we were at some events, and there are some crazy people. Like, they just come around, and sometimes I have to say, hey, let's stop that now.
Yeah, that's where we need the 290 and change.
Exactly.
That's where we need the 290 and change.
But there's you got bad apples everywhere. So
it's kind of wild that he hasn't been sucker punched.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to talk.
No,
about
we don't want to talk about that, but it is crazy.
Well, I mean, again, he's just talking. It's not like he's,
Yeah, for sure. And have you? I gotta ask you about your first meeting with Mr. Mike Portnoy Esquire. I can't just let that.
Yeah, no, he's a good man. I mean, like, so Dave always says, I always ask him about like his, ask about his parents, but I always ask about his dad because I don't hear the radio, but and I always ask, how's your dad doing on the, the radio? And he's like, he's got a lifelong contract or something like that. I was just like, but it's just, hey, listen, his dad loves to do it. So I think that's nice that he put him on. The relationship with them two is funny, but
it's hilarious. And we talked earlier, like, you're a Stern guy. Like, that's funny. Like, Stern got his dad involved.
Yes.
It's funny. Like, if you have the opportunity, it's like you. It's like, hey, all intents and purposes, you're running your pizza shop. You got 4 kids. You got a life. But it's like, hey, why would I not bring him involved?
Right, absolutely. I would definitely do the same thing. So I'm all for it. They're funny. They're good people.
Yeah, we need Mr. Ice. And in that vein, I mean, these are a couple things that, this is what Mr. Portnoy, said. He said Dave has an ego. Do you agree with that?
Do I agree that? Of course, Dave has an ego. Yeah, I mean that's again, it's one of his strengths. But I mean, Dave had an ego when he was trying to pick up a girl at it was a hostess at a restaurant, and he thought he was king shit. We walked in there. He had this plan. I'm like, all right, I'll go with you. So we walked into the thing. Meanwhile, his pickup game was at best. So we walk into the restaurant, and I'm like, oh, I think Todd might have been there too. We're like in the background. We want to see, because he had probably gone in there a couple times and talked to her a little bit. He walks in, and we see him give her this like bone. And I was like, what did, and then he came back, he talked to her. He's like, oh, she had a dog, so I gave her a doggy bone. I was like, she's a hostess at a restaurant right now. You think that worked? Obviously, she thought he was a crazy person, never gave her a number and anything. But that was Dave back before Rico Suave Dave,
Yeah. I mean, we got to talk about that. It's on my list here. The jeans. What do we think about the jeans?
I mean, he's like 170, so like he's just a little girly man. I mean, those jeans it wouldn't fit my foot.
But what's that like though? Because we talked about goatee Red Sox Nomar Garcia Parra, Dave, in the bar at noon.
Look what money does.
It's crazy.
It makes you better looking. It makes you skinnier. Shit, I gotta get more money. Unbelievable.
But that transition is probably wild to see too.
Listen, I just laugh about it. I mean, that's I'm a jeans and a t-shirt guy. I get I'm 2XLT. So if you have something 2XLT, I wear it. If I find it.
That's the bar for Elio. There we go. Mr. Ice. And then I didn't even say it too. You were also, for people that don't know, the pizza reviews have gotten so popular. We talked about your pizza place. You were in probably like one of the first 5 pizza reviews.
So, and I think he stole that from me. His best friend owns a pizza place. He used to come to my pizza place all the time. He does reviews now, so I feel like I should have at least 50% of that. Yeah. I mean, he took it from me for sure. So gambling was half mine, pizza half mine. So I deserve something. I don't know what.
You should get some type of check. That's a great pizza review too. You guys go in the basement.
Yes,
sit in the office.
That's right. Yeah,
you toss on the polo. It's if you haven't checked it out, go check it out.
No, I took my sweatshirt off. Yeah, yeah.
You put on the fucking polo, Elio. I know you put on the polo.
Fine, I'll say it. I'll admit it.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I didn't.
sorry.
I didn't. I took the sweatshirt off, and it was underneath.
That would be like a 10-year finding, a 10-year Easter egg.
No.
That'd be hilarious.
I can cross my fingers.
Yeah, no, good, dude. That was always a great piece. And then your dad was just
he's funny. I know. Dude. My dad is a wild man too. So he came over when he was 14 from Italy, and so he started his own. Had nothing. Started the own. Now my business. It's just he's a success story.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, hey, we're to the end here. Anything else here, kind of like throughout the journey, like with you and Dave and with Barstool, that maybe a cool story, anything you got that kind of sticks out that you like to tell people? Because I'm sure people ask you, I mean, just whatever. Everyone's first question is, how's Dave?
How's Dave? How is he?
And I don't know if you have one ready to go or anything like that. If not, I didn't prep you. So.
Yeah. So, when we go to the races, I mentioned it a little bit before about the tables, but like just the type of like respect that he gets now from everywhere we go now is like, it's such a difference from what we used to do. And like, it could be from a track to a hotel or anything that we do now is just, I just never thought that it would come to something like this. So yeah, that's sort of, what I can think on the top of my head.
No worries for sure. I mean, listen, like I said, I hope it was a fun weekend. I had fun hanging out with you.
Yeah, it was nice.
Betting the games, betting the puck.
And let me tell you this, there are some employees in this company that he really likes, and you're one of them. So, and I know, because I just know Dave, and so, and you want to obviously be on his side, but he definitely thinks highly of you. So you're in good shape.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good spot.
Well, listen, you are the people that he really appreciates, and he doesn't say it obviously because that's the way he is. But like, you were a stoolie before you even worked there, and you can tell in people who work like you that they know basically they want to work and make the product better.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you. I appreciate that, and I think. Like I said.
And I'm going to tell him you got to get a raise, so don't worry about it.
I appreciate that even more, for sure. But Elio, thanks, man. I'm excited. I hope you get in the fold a lot more.
Great.
Especially as we keep popping these state by states. We got a great crew. And
it is fun.
Yeah, no, thanks, Elio. And
Thank
you. We're doing picks too. People, what's your Twitter? People want to check it out.
Oh, that's right. I've never given. Man? So it's Elio82, I guess, right?
I think that's it. Well, right. You should know your own handle.
I should know. I know.
That shows it's why you didn't get in, Elio. You can't fucking do the social stuff. You said
it. People always say, "What's your?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess it's my Elio82." Yes. So follow me at Elio82.
He's got pucks all the time.
That's right. Pucks and horses and my kids. If you don't want to see that, you don't come.
Do not subscribe to the Elio feed. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. That's it for today, everybody. We'll catch you next time.